problem at one of the bus turnarounds at a school. We helped with an interior separation of walls to create some office spaces. We developed a brochure that was used for fundraising for the locker room project that's now underway. And we are currently in the middle of evaluating all of the school facilities for their HVAC systems, for inclusion into and the expenditure of the CARES Act money to do some upgrading on the HVAC systems. Currently, we're only doing a study to identify what those improvements might be, but that study is underway. We also are currently working on a project that started out as the fulfillment of that locker room project, but it has taken on a few other aspects that as we got into the project, the district determined that it was in their interest to go ahead and take care of some other things at that time. But those are a kind of a handful of some of the little things that we have done. We're now starting to bite off some of the bigger issues that the district has in front of them, and are utilizing staff from our East St. Louis office. We have an office there on State Street or at 5 Bank Square. And it's a fully staffed office that's been there, I'm guessing 30, 35 years. And we're pretty invested. We do a lot of work with the city of East St. Louis. We also are the current architect of record for the East St. Louis Housing Authority. And Southern Illinois Healthcare Foundation is a major client of ours as well. And I know those aren't district, but it kind of tells about a little bit of the story about Hearst Rocher and our engagement in the community of East St. Louis.
And Dave, this would be a time for you to get into a little detail about the project at the high school that started with the locker room, and just kind of update the board from your vantage point on what we're doing there.
Sure. We were asked to take a look at, in 2019, what it would take to remodel a couple of the locker rooms and and if you've had opportunity to tour them, yeah, they were in, let's say, needy shape. We went in and developed a plan for that and a budget estimate, and that was about, at that time, the construction cost, and with I think contingency and fees, it was all in about $1.2 million. When we started the design of that project, after the district had obtained the funding and wanted to start pursuing it, we went in and looked at all of the systems and the arrangements, met with both PE and athletics, as well as some of the high school administration and district administration, and looked at how that area was planned on being used, and actually came across the idea of involving both the locker rooms on the east and the west in a more efficient way. And that's when it was determined that we would be better off having the athletic locker rooms, both boys and girls, located to the west side of the gymnasium, and the PE locker rooms, both boys and girls, located on the east side of the gymnasium. And that did a lot of things, I think, operationally, and had the best use of space for the district in all of that available space. And so that change was made to the plan. And as we started looking at the mechanical systems, and which include the electrical and the plumbing and the HVAC, there were some other needs that were all in the middle of that. And if we're going to impact quite a bit of that in the project, it seemed to make the most sense to the district to do that at the same time. And so changing some second floor gym restrooms into some storage space, creating a second floor gym conference room, doing some office renovation, and then outside doing some fencing and sidewalks that are between the locker rooms and the athletic fields.
Mm-hmm.
Those changes had that project actually grow to a much different project, and that is now budgeted at 3.1 million. In light of our starting the evaluation of the CARES Act and the ESSER eligible funding,
Mm-hmm.
in all of the work that I just described, we have identified a roughly 1/2 of that money, or $1.5 million, that would or should be eligible for the CARES Act funding. And so although the project really not quite tripled in size, the cost of the project actually only went up in terms of money that is not CARES Act money. The project only went up in value or cost out of pocket to the district by what would it be, about 400,000.
Yeah, so we thought that was a good way to use those funds. And with the HVAC systems at the other facilities, you're putting in, making sure we have systems that could handle, that could better handle things like some kind of virus such as coronavirus. You brought in some special HVAC people to take a look at those systems?
Yes, we actually engaged a firm out of St. Louis.
Yes, go ahead.
Engaged a firm out of St. Louis that we work with on some of our federal contracts, and they are one of the leading firms in the nation in looking at coronavirus and the proper remediation activities for schools and other higher ed facilities. And so they are on our team. We're doing that out of our fee and having them join us to do that. And so, yeah, all of this work that's being done will be done in compliance with the new design goals of creating more outside fresh air and better filtered air, so that we have a better indoor air quality for the students and the faculty.
Yeah, and when the board a few months ago approved the selling of working cash bonds, it was for the high school projects, and we talked to the board about looking at the areas of the high school that were not covered when the high school was renovated several years ago. And the gymnasium area was not a part of that renovation. Neither was the cafeteria and the kitchen area. So we're trying to, and then also you'll see projects coming forward, the auditorium. Those areas were completely left out of the renovation. So those are the projects that we're trying to take care of at the high school. And we're using, again, CARES Act money for anything that's HVAC related. And that'll be not just the high school, but all of our schools, the HVAC systems. And we were fortunate in that Representative Greenwood was able to acquire $2.5 million for us to use for other projects. And of course, we knew that the 2.8 or 9 that we got from working cash bonds wouldn't handle everything. So the rest of the things at the high school will be covered by the 2.5 million that we are receiving through a legislation appropriation that Representative Greenwood was able to acquire for the district.
Yeah, and Superintendent Culver, you mentioned something that I failed to, just to make a point of that, that after this project is done, the high school gymnasium will be air conditioned for the first time.
Correct, for the first time ever.
So that'll make it eligible for use for summer camps and really year-round activities. Yeah.
And our locker rooms were in such condition that we weren't able to host any kind of conference tournaments. And honestly, visiting schools would not many times even utilize our locker rooms because of the condition and the state that they were in. So it's really good to get this taken care of. Initially, we thought that we had a benevolent donor that was putting together a group of people to do this project for us, but that never materialized. So we were fortunate and that we had to work in cash bonds as well as the money related to the CARES Act to get this project taken care of. And I know we also are looking at some, and these are future projects that the architect will be involved with too. But we're also looking at the stadium. You know, we got the new football field and track, but we also want to make sure that we have everything that we need to make it handicap accessible too. And so we've been talking about looking at maybe perhaps even putting an elevator for handicapped people to utilize at the stadium if they need to go up to the press box or any other area that's on the second floor. And we also have noticed that there's some stadium modifications that need to be made so that we will be in compliance with handicap accessibility codes.
I've got a few questions, Superintendent.
Yes.
I see on here that the second floor gym restrooms will be converted to general storage spaces. Will they move the restrooms to another area, or you felt like these were not necessary?
They're not necessary, and the architect may want to chime in. There are some restrooms that haven't been used for, I don't know why, but there are new restrooms that some renovation was done. Wow, it was before I got there, but they've never been utilized. So we're going to open those up. And then there are 2 restrooms on the front. So each entry and exit point from the gym, you'll have both a boys and a girls restroom on each end. Also, there's another, at the time those restrooms were added, they did also add another concession stand that's never been utilized either. So we're going to open that up, but we really don't need those restrooms. They're not even in working condition, and they haven't been utilized in years. So we told the architect that if they're not needed to make sure that we're within code guidelines, then a better use of that space would be to convert it into storage, because they certainly need more storage for the PE and athletic programs.
Yeah, that's a great question. And really, it was the first thing that we asked when the district had suggested the idea of converting them from restrooms to storage. They have not been in use for quite a long time. But we went in and did a code compliance check on the high school and did what we call a fixture count to ensure that we had both enough women's and enough men's fixtures to cover all of the code requirements. And really beyond that, accessible toilets that people can use that's within a reasonable travel distance. And we found that, in fact, these were not required.
Okay. One other question, Superintendent.
Yes.
On the visitor side of the stadium, do we have restrooms for our visitors?
Nope. And that's another thing. That's when I mentioned, that extra 2.5 that we have. Yeah, we're going to be looking at putting restrooms on the other side as well as concession stand too.
Okay, great.
The architects will go through and look at that. And another thing that we don't have is we don't have soccer fields, not soccer, but baseball fields and softball diamonds. That needs to be added out there too. So those are some future projects that we'll be coming to the board with. We're going to stretch that 2.5 out as far as we can.
Totally agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Moore, did you hear that?
Yeah, that's what I said too, right?
Yeah, I did.
One other project, Ms. Galladay, out there that we need to take a look at is the tennis courts. You all probably know the condition of those tennis courts for decades. One thing is that they were turned the wrong way. I think they're east and west, and tennis courts are supposed to be north and south. So that's going to take a total revamping also.
Yeah,
they have to be probably uprooted and probably start over. But
you can use tennis courts at Lincoln Park until you're ready.
Okay. Okay. So what's on the agenda though is for that, the number that should have been put in was at 3.121. I did send a memo on that. But the actual 292,000 of that is architectural fees, and we've already paid 124,000 of those fees. So that leaves about 165,000 or so for architectural fees. That $2,892 and $2,892,200. That's just a projected cost. We know that the construction costs could come in a little higher or lower. Typically, I think Hearst Roche is like most architects. They always estimate high and come in lower than the estimated cost. Is that correct, Dave?
Well,
Not to put you on the spot there, but that's what.
In a perfect world, we want our estimate to be $1.95 higher than the low bid.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll be the case. What
We don't know for sure with COVID stuff.
that is right. And
Yeah.
construction costs have been nearly impossible to keep a handle on.
Yeah.
You know, just anecdotally, a sheet of 3/4 inch tongue and groove plywood that was $35, $38 a year ago is now $75.
Mhm.
And so it's just across the board. It's crazy, but things are settling down as things open up, and we hope and expect to see some stabilization of some of the costs for that as well. And I might mention also that the percentage of our fees that is associated with ESSER or CARES Act eligible project, our fees would be eligible as well.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And then also, Dave, it might not be a bad idea to just talk about the timing of the project now, how that's been kind of pushed back some and why.
It has, with all of this change in the scope of work, what our plan is to get all of this design work done so that we can advertise for bids right around the holidays and look for a very first of the year award. So we would be looking to open bids and make an award maybe as early as your January meeting, with the idea that gives the successful contractor a great opportunity to get under work, get under contract and get his materials, because with all this HVAC equipment, those are very, very long lead items. And so we want to be on the contractor's top of their list when they're lining their work up for the summer of 2022. And so that is kind of our current timeline.
And another advantage to that too, the cost of steel right now has tripled, is what I've been reading.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe by that time, the cost will somewhat settle down. I think people are projecting that things will level off at some point. And then another thing, and I'll be done, is that a lot of the contractors and construction workers, they are behind now because of COVID. Projects that they should have gotten completed 18 months ago were held off, and a year ago. So they're behind schedule now, right now anyway. So it's that's another reason for the delayed start. But I think it'll play to our advantage, really. I think the cost will, by that time, kind of level out as it relates to materials, for sure. Steel and everything else.
Yeah.
And Superintendent, if there's any architectural drawings of these proposed projects, it would be good to pass that on to the board.
Yeah,
so that
we'll
they actually see what's proposed.
Yes, ma'am. We'll get those to you.
Okay. Were there any more questions?
Yes, ma'am. I just want to know, and I'm all for renovation and all of that, but I wanted to know why this project is so pressing at this moment. I mean, I have had concerns, and Mr. Carver, you did touch on that, the tennis court, the baseball diamond, and so forth, soccer fields and all of that. Why is this project so pressing when those things could be done to encourage our students that may not be playing basketball or football or whatever in other sports, encourage them to do more within the school?
Well, we're going to look at, those aren't on the back burner either. That's why I mentioned those to you. The board decided, and I agreed with them, and as a matter of fact, recommended by administration, that as soon as we got money, to do projects. And we thought we'd get some money from a sales tax several years ago that was defeated. That would have given us money to take care of a lot of the projects that we needed in the district. But the board and the administration recommended to the board that we look at the projects at the high school that were omitted. And right now, those locker rooms are out of compliance. They're just, they're in really bad condition. And so we looked at the gym area, the cafeteria, and the auditorium, and said that we want to take care of everything inside of the building. And then we do have, again, additional money. We're going to take care of those other projects too. It's not like they're going to be put on hold for years, or we're going to get those bids out for those very soon too. But, we were using, and we still are using JJK softball fields. The tennis program, I forget, they practice at one of the parks. So we're gonna get that taken care of.
Lincoln Park.
Yeah, Lincoln Park. Honestly, we didn't have the money. We didn't have the money to do the tennis courts. It was about, it was right at $1 million that it was gonna take to redo those tennis courts. But now, again, we have money to do those projects. And so you'll be seeing recommendations coming through the board through the Buildings and Grounds Committee, and then the full board to handle these other projects.
Okay, and so my question again is, why is this so important when our students shouldn't have to leave the premises to practice baseball? Our students shouldn't have to leave the premises to practice for tennis.
They're all important. They're all important. Right now, we have students using locker rooms that are not up to code. It's it was a pressing need. And those are kids that use those locker rooms every day. We're not talking about just athletics, but they use those locker rooms for physical education on a daily basis.
And I get that.
And they are filthy. They don't meet code. It's just a lot of issues with it.
And
the administration recommends, we're going to recommend that we move forward with these projects. I think it would be a mistake on our part to put them on hold, especially knowing the cost of materials and look how far we're down the road with this already. I just think we should move forward. And if the board wants to change its priorities in the future, certainly I think it should be able to do that. But, and it can change it now too, but the administration is going to recommend that the board move forward with these projects that we've already started.
And Mr. Colbert, at different times, aren't the schools inspected and rated? And
these came up in health, life, safety inspections about the conditions of those locker rooms. And
that's how it came up.
That's exactly how it came up. You're right. Thanks for reminding me. But this is a pressing need. We have students using those restrooms, those locker rooms every day for physical education.
Superintendent, having the school improve where it oxygenate the classes better for the COVID-19.
Yes.
Isn't that also a pressing reason why you're doing this, or how does that play?
It does. It fits in also because the HVAC system is a part of that project, that whole gymnasium project. And then we're looking at every school. I mean, we're going to look at every school and every facility in the district to upgrade its HVAC facility to meet these new code standards. But this is certainly a needed project, and I just think we need to move forward with it.
And Mr. Culver, don't take this no other way than I'm about to say it. I'm not opposed to moving forward. And as you stated, all sports are important and all of them is important. I just want you all to really take into consideration that our children are going to other places to practice. And with the crime rate in our city, they need to be home. So I'm just asking in the future that you make it a little more priority for them to be at home.
Yes, ma'am.
Board, just for your information, projects are planned strategically by Mr. Culver and his administration. And the board reviews them and approve what is to be done. So sometimes you're coming on the last end of what has already been planned a few years down the road. And some of the holdup was because of COVID. You know, some of this could have been done back maybe almost 2 years ago. So we're at that point now where we're trying to play catch up. But
Right.
as you said about students going to other facilities now, that's been something we've done in East
Yes.
St. Louis forever, but the crime rate is worse than what it used to be, and you could safely move from here to there. So I think she's brought up a good point.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned that we're looking at the tennis courts, we're looking at the softball fields, we're looking at the baseball fields. We're going to take care of all of that. I assure you.
Are there any more questions? Superintendent, are you ready to do your update on projects and activities?
Yes, the only update on that is, of course, we did send out a memo today asking for a board meeting, special board meeting for an orientation and for orientation for all board members and especially new board members. And that's going to be either Tuesday or Wednesday, whichever fits your schedule. So if you have a particular date that's better for you, please email us and let us know. And some of you have already emailed things that you want us to cover. So if there's anything you want us to cover, please try to get that to us by Friday so we can be prepared to talk about those things at this special meeting.
We chose Tuesday because
Okay.
the board members is going out of town on Wednesday, and we want to make sure that we have all of the new board members here. Okay.
Okay, so Tuesday's great for us. So get us, email us with anything you want us to cover, so we'll make sure that we meet your needs.
Okay. Were there any FOIA requests?
No, not that I'm aware of. Tina, you aware of any FOIA requests? Tina, you're on mute. I don't think there's
No, not
FOIA
at this
requests
time.
that we have that need to be discussed.
Well, we'll move
No.
to number 12, action agenda.
Okay, so this is the part of the meeting where it's the superintendent's report, which includes the action agenda items and other items. So I just want the new board members to understand we do this two ways. We have action items 12 through 15C. And then we have the committee reports. That does include the committee reports.
Yeah.
So what we can do is we can do an omnibus vote, which simply means that the board can approve an omnibus vote for all those items. And then what I would do is go through and list each one of those items, every one of them, and the board can take one vote to approve or disapprove all of them. Or if the board prefers, we can go one at a time for each item. So whichever President Galladay you want me to do.
Prefer running together.
Vote.
Okay. So at this time, I make a motion to approve by omnibus vote action items 12A, 12B, 12C, 12D, 12E, 12F, 12G, 12H, 13A, 14A, 15A, 15B, and 15C. With 15B, which is the curriculum report, I'm pulling the action items in that report that are noted as 7A1 and 7A2. That's because that's related to a consultant contract related to safe and healthy schools paid for out of Title I. But we need to pull that contract because we have some concerns with the contract itself and the consultant.
Okay.
Can I get a motion, please?
I move.
You heard the recommendation of the superintendent. May we have a motion and a second?
I move.
We have a motion by Mr. Lockett. Is there a second?
Second by Carr.
A second by Ms. Carr. Any questions? If no questions, roll call, please.
Mr. Lockett,
Yes.
Ms. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Clark, Ms. Galladay,
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Ms. Ray.
Ms. Ray?
Ms. Ray? She's muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
motion carries.
Thank you, Madam President.
Superintendent,
Yes, ma'am. Now I need a motion to approve the following items. 12A, motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with the East St. Louis General Services Employees, Local 382 for Extended Learning Opportunities Program through June 30th of 2021. 12B, motion to approve letter of engagement with Showalter and Jabari to provide accounting consulting services. 12C, motion to approve the qualified bid from Hirsch Roche for engineering services associated with the evaluation of the East St. Louis School District owned properties, which includes the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system, HVAC systems, that is, at each facility.
Okay.
12D, motion to approve Hirsch Roche Architectural Engineering Agreement for construction projects at the high school and the stadium. And that cost is, we've sent that to you, $3.1 million. I rounded off, 3.1121900. 12E, motion to approve the proposed 2021-22 school year calendar. 12F, motion to approve setting a public hearing on August 17th, 2021 at 5:45 p.m. regarding the East St. Louis Regional Vocational System and the East St. Louis Area Joint Agreement budgets. 12G, motion to approve setting a public hearing on September 21st, 2021 at 5:45 regarding the adoption of the district's 189 school year budget for FY22. 12H, motion to approve the workers' compensation settlement agreement as discussed in closed session. 13A, financial report for the month of April of 2021. 14A, personnel report. 15A, buildings and grounds report. 15B, curriculum report, except action items 7A1 and 7A2. And finally, the finance report, item 15C.
Okay,
Can I get a
board,
motion,
you
please?
heard the recommendation of the superintendent. May I have a motion and a second?
I move.
I have a
Second.
motion by Mr. Lockett, a second by Ms. Carr. Were there any questions? No questions, roll call, please.
Mr. Lockett,
Yes.
Ms. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Clark, Ms. Galladay,
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Ms. Ray.
Yes.
Motion carries. Superintendent, you'll need
Thank
a motion. Well, you can go ahead and
I was just going to say thank you, Madam President. That does conclude my report.
okay. Any old business? Any new business? Announcements of our next board meetings. The next one is on June 15, 2021. And Superintendent, when is the graduation?
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. The graduation is the 27th. And we'll send you specific information and some directions regarding what's expected from board members. We'll get that to you this week.
And they have not gotten Ms. Moore's signature for the diplomas. Are they gonna get that done right away? As board
Yes.
secretary? Okay,
Yes, Susie, you're going to make that a priority?
Will do.
okay, thank
We
you.
got it.
Oh, Next is a motion for adjournment.
I so move.
A
Second.
motion by Mr. Lockett, second by Ms. Moore. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Lockett,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Ms. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Clark, Ms. Galladay,
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood,
Yes.
Ms. Ray.
Yes.
Good meeting, board. Bye-bye.
Thank
Goodbye.